Drawing upon his cosmic awareness, Vi2 began to anticipate their varied attacks, finding patterns in their movements. He generated fields of pure energy, reflecting Tufal's beams and creating openings for counter-attacks. He targeted the weak points in their strategy, disrupting their harmony. As the battle raged on, Vi2 adapted to the deity's new strategy. He weaved through the attacks with newfound precision, targeting the real assaults and countering with a series of powerful energy blasts. The deities, though formidable, found it increasingly difficult to keep up with Vi2's relentless assault. In a final, desperate move, the deities combined their powers into one last, coordinated attack. Vi2 knew that this was the moment that would decide the battle. He focused all his energy, creating a vortex of cosmic power that absorbed their assault. With a blinding flash, Vi2 unleashed his ultimate technique once more. The cosmic wave spread out, neutralizing the incoming attack and enveloping the deities in a dazzling light. When the light faded, Vi2 stood victorious, his form glowing with residual energy. The Council of Three all laid out utterly defeated and exhausted, but Tufal was still pushing on, despite being in terrible condition. By this point, Vi2 was also on the verge of death, so he was caught off guard when the Council of Three used all their power to apprehend him. Tufal channeled all his power into one final beam, sure to destroy Vi2. Vi2 didn't have any idea what to do, as he had been using his power to predict the past this entire battle. The beam fired directly at his face, and started to destroy him completely. They had only one final resort, which was to send out every consciousness inside Vi2 from his body. They did this, but these consciousnesses were extremely weak, even after they combined into one, and their original body with all of their power was now obliterated. Tufal passed out from exhaustion, but the Council of Three managed to stand up. They shot out their powers into one orb, which flew towards the consciousnesses. They were sure this would be the end, but realized that there was still one other thing in this area, the Pillar of Void. With no other option, all of their consciousnesses went into the pillar, nearly being destroyed by its force. They slowly became one with it, tapping into an infinite amount of void. They were still weaker than when they started out, but they turned their new body into a more humanoid form, and absorbed the remains of their old body, making them more powerful than before. They started channeling a beam of void, but the Council of Three merged into one being, Triumvirate. Triumvirate blocked the beam, and took Tufal's body, giving it consciousness once more. The fight was over again, as Triumvirate and Tufal annihilated the very realm they were in, as it had nothing left, leaving them out in the Sephiverse. They were both dying and about to pass out like Tufal, so they each teleported away, each going far away. The void being with the consciousnesses of the 7th Legion made itself an improved form, Sir Jamaican Void Pod, or Sir V for short. Sir V was going along, but realized absorbing all the void had a side effect. He kept feeling a strange sensation of sort of expanding, until eventually he completely cloned. The cloned part was a being of pure chaos named Parasitic Maid Donjo, or PMDJ. PMDJ started hurling condensed multiverses Sir V, who dodged them and did a medium-sized dance, deflecting them back. PMDJ jumped through them and scurried over to Sir V, jumping all across him and scratching at him. Sir V was taking damage, but he kicked PMDJ in the stomach, sending him onto the ground. Sir V jumped over him and started pummeling PMDJ until he leapt up, pushing Sir V away. Sir V tried to fire a laser, but was off balance and missed as PMDJ tackled him and the two were sent spiraling into the Sephiverse. They both were attacking each other with various spells and strikes, until Sir V managed to grab PMDJ by the arms and toss him up and away, then forming and firing a magic rocket at him, hitting him in the stomach and flying away at high speed with him on it, eventually exploding in a powerful burst far away, giving Sir V time to run away. Will Smith didn't need to cuss in his raps to sell records, mostly because there is no more saying cuss words. It Island. Not good. I'm putting a video on YouTube about no more saying cuss words. No more saying cuss words, guys. It's inappropriate and violent. If you say a cuss word, then you're like going to jail, and you're like, and when you go to jail, IBA when you go to jail. If you say a cuss word, you go to jail, and if you go to jail cause you said a cuss word, then you're only gonna eat broccoli and other vegetables for your whole life. You don't want to eat vegetables. Sometimes people like eating sweets, but I eat broccoli. So, I'm okay with broccoli, but I do not want to go to jail. You cannot go to jail. And saying cuss words is illegal. They are now gonna make a law about that. It is illegal, it is inappropriate, it is really violent. I better warn my school about that. With this revelation, they found Will Smith's home and kneed him in the jaw, sending him flying into the multiverse. Sir V spun around with his fist out, hitting Will Smith with extreme blunt force and sending him flying out into the distance. They hoped that would be fine, and got the no more saying cuss words kid to join them, since they didn't say cuss words. They decided they didn't want to start the 8 Legion just yet, so the kid merged directly into them instead. They then started doom scrolling, and eventually, the Sigma Skibidi Grizzly Bears, who were also Loki Goat NPCs, found them. These people started swarming Sir V, and it looked like that one scene in Shrek where he fights the knights, which was pretty funny. Sir V beat them all, but then they merged into the Alpha. The Alpha roared, but then Sir V took away his iPad, turning him into a dignified member of society who agreed to merge with Sir V. Sir V looked on the iPad, and found a strange Instagram account that reads as follows. I was born in 331 BCE with the name Kong Chiu. Both of my parents died when I was young, and I married when I was 19. I had 2 children, and my family was middle class, so I thought people should be promoted by talent, not by family. I first was a shepherd, then a clerk, and finally worked for the government. I worked my way up the ranks until I became an advisor. I developed a philosophy I taught to others known as Confucianism. My philosophy contains 5 virtues: Ren, Yi, Li, Xin, and Ji. At age 51, I quit my job and began traveling throughout China, teaching Confucianism. My followers wrote my teachings down in books called the Analects. The government liked Confucianism and it remained a popular part of Chinese culture until the 20th century. They realized this was Confucius' account, and the iPad turned into him. He shared some wisdom with them, which was that Confucius says, if you buy a man a plane ticket, he'll fly once. If you push a man out of an airplane, he'll fly for the rest of his life. This wisdom was so amazing that it allowed Sir V to be at peace enough to fully control the void he absorbed. They then found a man who was a master over the concept of losing a banana in a jungle. This was very scary, as that meant he could be very powerful. Thankfully, he had no ill intentions, instead sharing some cookies infused with the souls of the accursed and muscle man's mother. These cookies made them both more powerful, and then the guy merged with Sir V. They realized Confucius was still there, but he then shed his outer skin, revealing him to have been Professor Ratigan from the Great Mouse Detective in disguise, even since he was first in ancient China, and only then he merged with Sir V. Now pretend like I'm Moscow and retreat from these flames. Huckleberry Hound said Oaga Booga and then Shwooga Looga and melted and froze and evaporated and condensed and sublimated and deposited or whatever into Jeff Kiney. That was epic, so Sir V gave him an award and then sung the lyrics to Mr. Egg's famous song, Michael Jackson Shaped Fart. This song enchanted the Jeff Kiney and Jeff Kiney, so they merged into Jeff FFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFF homie bread slice dog then did the flop, and merged with Survey. I'm not running out of ideas, you are. They weren't happy, they were feeling glad, they had sunshine, in a bag, they were useless, but not for long, the future, is coming on. Then Del the funky Homo sapien merged with them because he sensed meta. They began to realize they should probably actually do something productive and plot progressing now, so they went ahead and did. They looked up and saw PMDJ and Will Smith, now a married couple, returning. They both had just been harmed by Survey, so they bonded over their shared hatred and decided to enact vengeance on Survey. Survey made a joke about PMDJ, so Will Smith did his signature move, slapping him and telling him to keep his wife's name out his mouth, and then gripping his enchanted stick of Walt Disney's frozen intestines, its glow pulsating in rhythm with his determination. Beside him loomed PMDJ, the primordial manifestation of anarchy, a deity of pure chaos. PMDJ's form morphed erratically, one moment a swirling galaxy of thorns, the next, a massive clockwork dragon made of feathers and ice. And you know what else is massive? The low taper fade mim. Their opponent, Survey, stood resilient amidst the devastation. His once pristine armor, a testament to celestial order, was cracked and tarnished. Yet his gaze remained steady, betraying no doubt. Around him, fragments of his realm shimmered faintly as though yearning for restoration. Will launched himself forward, his movements precise and deliberate, contrasting with PMDJ's frenzied explosions of chaotic energy. Together, they pushed Survey back, their combined forces relentless. The cosmic plane quaked under PMDJ's indiscriminate destruction, while Will's strikes delivered measured blows. But Survey, though battered, began to observe. His mind worked swiftly, studying not the strength of his enemies but the fragility of their marriage. The romance between Will and PMDJ was tenuous, and the deity of order understood the nature of divorce too well. A crack could be widened. As the battle raged, PMDJ's attacks grew wilder, its essence feeding on the discord in the air. Will found himself narrowly dodging not only Survey's counters but also the unintended consequences of PMDJ's unpredictability. Survey allowed himself a faint smile, a plan forming like a clear note amidst the cacophony. PMDJ's form twisted, growing larger and more erratic, a storm of contradictions threatening to consume friend and foe alike. It turned, its chaotic wrath now unfocused, lashing out at anything near. Will slapped, trying to direct it back toward their common enemy, but PMDJ's nature had taken over. Chaos could not be commanded. Survey stood tall, his armor mending itself as order began to ripple outward from him. Will staggered, caught in the crossfire of PMDJ's unpredictable fury. He defended himself against his own ally, his movements increasingly desperate. As PMDJ's chaos surged, Survey seized the moment. His sword, gleaming with restored power, cleaved through the turbulent air. Order began to reassert itself, subduing the battlefield's chaos. PMDJ's form started to fracture under its own instability, its momentum imploding. Will, exhausted and disoriented, looked between his former ally and Survey. The once unshakable mariage lay in ruins, undone not by force but by the subtle manipulation of the battlefield's dynamics. Survey stood triumphant, not because of overwhelming might but because he understood the heart of his enemies. Chaos would always unravel itself. Will was still clinging to life, but PMDJ was only a puddle of pure chaos without sentience. Will touched PMDJ's remains, and they began to infect him, turning the two beings into one, now named Will Parasitic made Don Joe Smith, or WPMDJS for short, or WMDS for shorter. WMDS faded away with a hectic cackle, leaving Sir V alone. Sir V's odds were only decreasing, as he had just added another powerful foe to his already nigh impossible to manage list of Tefal and Triumvirate. Their current solution didn't change much, but they decided they should start building another team, and were ready to begin the 8th Legion. For their first member, they found Kalo's beta dad eating unsalted saltines on the swings while eating unsalted saltines Ines, and wearing what Rachel Maddow would wear to a pumpkin patch. He was easy to befriend, as he was lonely. They asked why, and he said that he and Peter used to hang out until Peter went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Friedrich Nietzsche's mustache was dead, and we killed it. The 8th Legion, being very based, resurrected it, and it joined them. They accidentally no-clipped out of reality, and ended up in the backrooms. They traversed through levels until finding level 1286, which was a cold nature trail with a temperature always at -15 degrees Fahrenheit. The sky is always dark and it is always snowing, although the snowing can be anywhere from a light sprinkle to a blizzard. Wanderers in this level report that they feel like they are always being watched. The path initially goes for 700 yards, until it turns into a 100-foot-long slippery footbridge over a frozen lake. If anything falls off the bridge, the ice on the pond will crack and the freezing cold water below will start to flood. After a few hours, the water will have receded. It is unknown what happens to the water. Occasionally on the path you can find metal keys. Beyond the footbridge the path continues for another 3 miles, before splitting into 2 paths. After 3 miles these paths split into another 2, and it is unknown how many times this repeats. The most ever recorded was 18 splits by a wanderer who later died after sleeping in that spot, and his body was later found. Going off the trail into a forest is highly discouraged, as the forest trees topple very often, and holes are littered throughout the forest, at an average of 40 feet deep. The only good thing about the forest is that the tree sap can increase your body temperature, but most of the trees by the trail are dried out, so consider this only as a last resort. At the end of every path, there is a 2% chance of a boathouse being there. The boathouse is an old, dusty wooden cabin with a bench, brick chimney, and porch. The porches are usually unstable and will collapse when walked on. Below the porch is a frozen over icy river around 4,000 feet down. Scraps of sap can be found on the porches. Many entities are shown to gather in the boathouses, so it is not recommended to enter. If you manage to climb on top of the boathouse's roof, it will collapse. Keys are sometimes inside of the roofs. Skeletal remains of animals such as squirrels and birds can be found scattered throughout the level, and all animals including humans decompose much faster in this level. These skeletons are commonly found piled up in corners of the boathouse, so it is likely that the entities in this level killed the animals, as well as natural causes. If enough of the skeletons are gathered when in advanced stages of decomposition the bone should be malleable, they can be squished together into a putty. If this putty is combined with sap and snow and mixed thoroughly, it will become a substance known as marrow putty. Marrow putty has numerous health benefits including restoring energy if tired, healing wounds, removing aches and pains, and increasing body temperature. This combined with its strangely sweet taste makes it very popular among wanderers at this level. After making and taking a wad of marrow putty, they found a keyhole in a tree. They unlocked it with a metal tree, and were taken to level -99,999, which was a small, black room with a ladder going down. The ladder is surrounded with the same black material as the room all the way down. After reaching the bottom, estimated to be about 300 meters or 1,000 feet deep, there will be a flat red plain, which makes up the rest of the level. On this plain, there are many mountains, some thousands of feet high. There are rivers and ponds of runny lava, and trees with trunks made of stone and leaves made of a fire that cannot be put out. Everything in this level is deeply tinted red except for the sky, which always appears to be a starry night with nebulae visible, and a much larger than normal red moon. No matter where you are, the temperature will remain at 30 degrees Celsius. They took a chunk of a mountain, and saw a 30,000-foot tall one looming in the distance. After hiking up the mountain, there was a pool of lava. They felt like they wanted to jump in, and when they did, they reached level 1142, an extremely complex level. It was a library, infinite in all directions. The level consists of hexagonal rooms in a hive-like format. The floors are polished wood, and the rooms are brightly lit. The walls on each side of the hexagonal rooms are bookshelves, with books of the same size tightly packed from side to side. Random walls of the rooms are replaced with wood and have openings, with each room always having at least one different wall, varying from room to room. These openings allow for wanderers to traverse the level. The books are mostly incoherent, each consisting of 410 pages of randomly placed letters and punctuation. For 18 hours, the lights will remain on, but for the remaining 8 hours in a day, the lights turn off, leaving the library in darkness. During the day, there is gentle piano music being played from an unknown location. There are no real songs played, but the music resembles actual songs from around the 1770s. During the night, this music is shut off, creating a sense of unease in the total quiet, with this quiet only being broken up by noises from the wanderer and occasional footsteps being heard in the distance. These footsteps have never been traced back to a being or source. The view from a window, with the sun in a fairly early sunset. An estimated 1 in 2,000 rooms are special, as they contain exclusively real books. These rooms are made up of a darker colored wood, and when inside, the piano music will subtly transition to actual songs which are seemingly picked at random. These songs still only have piano, or are just the piano from other songs, and are from the mid-1700s to late 1800s. In the main library, it is difficult but possible to form colonies, as the library is so large. In the rooms, there are hexagon-shaped gaps in the floor and ceiling with railings surrounding the gaps in the floor. These holes lead to other floors of the library, which are identical. Casualties have been reported from wanderers falling down into these holes, as the railings are only about knee-high. Windows which are most likely indestructible can be found occasionally in the walls, despite rooms existing where the windows look out into. All windows show an infinite landscape, made up of grasslands and rolling hills with only scattered trees, and never-ending sunsets. These sunsets move very slowly, gradually having the sun lower to how sunsets usually end, and then reversing to a position where sunsets begin.